Hi everyone. Again, my name is Melody. I am an educator with the Conserve Wildlife Foundation of New Jersey, and today I am walking around again in the woods behind my backyard, and I'm doing this to look for fallen and rotting logs. And the reason I'm looking for these things is because these fallen and rotting logs are a great habitat for lots of different living things. So while they might not be the prettiest things that we can see in nature, if we take a little time to observe them, we'll see just how much they provide for the things that are living in, on, and under them. And we can also learn a lot about the process of decomposition from them as well. Okay, so first we need to find some good logs to flip over and observe. Thankfully there are lots of them out here in the woods. So one thing to keep in mind while you are looking and observing logs like this is just remember that they are homes for other living things. So you want to flip them over pretty carefully, make sure you're not making too much of a mess for those other living things in there. Observe what you can and then flip them back over right where you found them, just so we're not leaving a big open space where things were before being covered up and protected. Okay, so I am going to start with this log right here. It's in a little bit of a wet area. It's got some nice moist soil underneath, so we're going to flip it over and see what is going on under here. Alright, so first thing before he goes in there, we've got an earthworm that's crawling back into the log there. Okay, so we have a termite under this one. Just one, but I'm sure there's much more back there, and there he goes. Okay, we've got some termites. Here we have a beetle. And another beetle down there. So when you are out looking for stumps and logs like this, you could also first look for evidence of different bugs and stuff living in these things. You can see all these little holes are good evidence of things that have burrowed into this stump and are now using it as a home. And another thing we can see over here is these are old mushrooms that were growing, all these little things that are sticking out all up here. All those down there are old mushrooms that used to be growing on this whole log here. We can also see moss again growing here. So another thing that looking at these stumps and logs can teach us about is the process of decomposition. So as these logs are laying here and being used by a bunch of different living things, they are being broken down or decomposed as well. So all these things living in, on, under the logs and stumps here are helping to decompose or break down those logs. So the process of decomposition is just the breaking down of organic material into smaller and smaller pieces, and eventually these logs will be returned back to soil. And any nutrients that they hold will be returned to that soil as well. And we also have these things, like I just showed you, the mushrooms and the moss and different kinds of fungi are going to live on these logs, and those as well are going to help break down and decompose these logs over time. Okay, so now that we've seen a bunch of the different things that like to use these logs as homes, I am going to use some of the pictures that I took of what we saw and go to ID them and kind of find out more about why they like to use these logs as homes. Okay guys, so now we are going to look at some of the pictures that I took out there that I have now identified, and we'll talk a little bit about these different things that I've identified. So the first one we're going to look at is the earthworm. So our earthworms are really great for decomposing. They will eat the organic matter in and eating the log. And they'll help to break it down into smaller pieces so that other things can, like bacteria and fungi, can grow on them as well and break it down even more to bring back into the soil. And they also help a lot with mixing the soil. So earthworms are super great to find in our logs out there. Our next one is our worker termite. So we can tell it's a worker because it is all white and it has really little jaws on the front. And our termites will actually feed right on the cellulose that is in, which is what our log is made up of. So they feed right on that log and eat the wood. Next we have our ground beetle. And so these guys are actually living under logs because they will hunt under there, and they are hunting for any other little bugs that might be living in and underneath those logs. And our last one that we saw was a centipede, which I couldn't really get a good video of, but I got a picture to show you guys. So I found a centipede underneath one of the logs out there. And those as well, similar to the ground beetles, are hunting for smaller insects that are living underneath and inside those logs. So just a reminder, if you are going outside at this time, please be safe and follow all social distancing guidelines. I hope you guys enjoyed our exploration of the forest out here to find what lives in our logs. If you saw anything that you thought was really cool, maybe you can draw a picture of it living in its habitat, or you can research one of these living things that we found today and maybe learn something new about that living thing. I'd love to hear what you guys do with this. If you do draw or find out anything new, please post it in the comments below so we can all share our ideas. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.